We move on to the next presentation by Natasha Allen, the Regional Program Expert for Southeast Asia in RA. Ms. Allen supports regional DRE programs and stakeholder engagement across Southeast Asia. Ms. Allen?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Natasha Allen, and I'm the regional expert for Southeast Asia for the Alliance for Rural Electrification. It's my pleasure to welcome you all here today, and especially a warm welcome to our members that are here to share about their innovations later. We're really excited to have the time and the space and your attention today to get to share some of the amazing work that's happening across Asia Pacific on decentralized renewables. So thank you, everyone, for being here. Just to start quickly with a bit of an introduction about ARE. ARE is a global business association for the decentralized renewable energy sector. We have more than 200 members across Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the Pacific, and roughly 50 members that are working across Asia Pacific as a region. These members are working really across the value chain. So this includes technology providers, project developers, EPCs, but also those working on implementation challenges, be it through software and digitalization tools, as well as finance and new innovative business models as well. So as you can see here, kind of the spread of our membership as well as the spread of their expertise, be it in different technologies or different challenges, is very broad, and again is really one of the main strengths and benefits of an alliance and membership-based approach. So kind of with that, when we look at our membership and what we're trying to do as an organization, fundamentally our mission really is to enable inclusive, reliable, and sustainable electrification through partnerships and through building systems and innovations together between governments, utilities, financiers, as well as the private sectors, and of course with the communities and beneficiaries that we aim to be supporting at the end of the day. And when we look at Asia Pacific, and in particular here Southeast Asia as a region, what we do see when it comes to rural electrification or energy access in particular is a lot of historical progress on kind of narrowing in on this goal of achieving universal access, but still over recent years slowing access. So high nominal access, but slowing progress. We've heard the numbers already a couple times this morning, roughly 50 million without access, as well as another 350 million that are receiving unreliable or, let's say, poor quality access. And the reality on the ground is that when we're looking at where these communities are, so the ones that have low or no access, we have a couple very context-specific challenges and opportunities that I want to take some time to kind of focus in on today, because I think these really set the context and the reality on the ground that I think later on we'll hear some great solutions that are working to address a variety of these different challenges. But kind of just to start, as we know, Southeast Asia is a very diverse region when it comes to the geographies as well as kind of the layout and structure of what the land and what communities look like and where they are. We have archipelagos, we have mountains, and of course, in these kind of contexts, grid extension or grid-based access methods are additionally challenging, very fragile, logistically difficult, and of course also quite a bit more costly. When it then comes to how we look at resilience as well as development of infrastructure, we also have a region that has a lot of exposure to disasters. So a lot of climate vulnerable populations, as well as economies that have increasing impact from climate-related crises and disasters, as well as daily stressors like heat, as well as, of course, impact on agricultural production and produce. And then, last but not least, we have structures and governments that are very centralized. So that when it comes to planning, tariff setting, and just general kind of infrastructure delivery, these are very centralized and therefore kind of requires us to take a bit more of a coordinated and intentional approach to how we think about engaging with decentralized populations in a somewhat centralized way. And so what that really means is when we talk about energy access and electrification more broadly across remote industries, it's not just a market development issue, but it also deeply involves kind of questions about how we think about developing in a way that is resilient and inclusive, and allows us to really channel that into better coordination across stakeholders. And so, what I kind of want to propose today is when we talk about access, think about how we can add a little bit more texture, or add a little bit more, yeah, change to how we think about access from just people having connections to people having resilient energy systems. Because this is what we really mean when we talk about just energy transition and when we talk about inclusivity. So if we shift the narrative from just access to resilience, that allows us to talk about things about reliability, affordability, and how distributed energy is a way to really kind of achieve this like first harmonic of development and change for communities and industries and other stakeholders that are kind of operating now on the edge of the grid or beyond. And then also talk about the public value that this can really create. So durable access depends not just on the infrastructure being there, but also public mandates as well as civic partnerships that allow us to integrate and align what's happening again in decentralized areas in a more centralized and coordinated way. And that coordinated approach is really important. So for ARE as an organization, the way that we think about this and what we're trying to achieve in the region kind of falls along these lines of building and connecting with these partnerships. So this means aligning the centralized and decentralized. So how can we actually integrate DRE planning into broader energy systems mapping as well as harmonizing that with what's happening on a grid planning level and a grid management level? DREs have a very important role to play in this context. Thinking about how we can do this systematically and kind of achieve some semblance of scale that we need to do this in an efficient way, but do so still in an inclusive way. And of course, leveraging innovations, be it from technology or other kinds of business models, delivery models, financial models to achieve that. Um, and kind of underneath that, of course, there's a lot of smaller things that fall into play to kind of set the enabling tone for all of this. But before I leave you, just want to kind of connect this back to ARE as an organization and what we're really doing to kind of action on this vision. And the way we see it, distributed energy can really has the potential to be a backbone for how we can actually develop energy systems in Asia Pacific moving forward to really lean into and back up resilient and fair infrastructure and achieving all of the development outcomes that we want to see for the region. And for us, what this means really is a couple key things. Supporting innovation, so championing cutting edge DRE technologies that can deploy and deliver in tough contexts. We'll hear about some of these solutions today. Supporting inclusive models and kind of collecting and sharing lessons through our membership network about what we can do to make sure that the work that's being deployed is really having the end benefits for the communities that we aim to see and being able to measure and evaluate that on the ground. Advocating and alliancing to make sure that the work of these organizations and practitioners and partners is in the spaces that it needs to be in order to kind of advance the dialogue and the agenda and promote DREs across more of these again centralized communications and dialogues when it comes to planning at a higher level. And then of course technical capacity building to make sure that the people who are there to do the work are able to do it well, do it confidently, and do it sustainably. And then, of course, last but not least, mobilizing investment by connecting financiers, developers, through events like our Energy Access Investment Forum, which will be in Nairobi at the beginning of next year. And also focusing on accelerating how capital can access these high impact, high scalable projects and businesses. Because once this foundation is laid down, that gives us the environment for the investment to actually flow. And so, really, at ARE, what we're trying to do is build ecosystems that really promote this reliability and inclusivity and make sure that when we talk about access and we talk about connections, that part of it, the resilience, is a key indicator of success, not just an afterthought. Thank you for your time. Please reach out to us. I'm here, and David, our CEO, who you heard from earlier, is here. We'd love to speak with industry and corporates who would be keen to learn more about our work and join in on the mission, as well as any public sector utilities or other sector enablers that are working to advance shared goals. Thank you for your time.